The city of Solaris was alive with its usual energy. People hurried along the streets. Buses honked at slow drivers and neon signs reflected on the wet pavement after a morning rain. Mira moved carefully along the sidewalk, her hands resting on the wheels of her wheelchair. Her belly was heavy with the life growing inside her, and she moved slowly to avoid sudden jolts. She had chosen this street for its smooth path and fewer obstacles. The sun had broken through the clouds, casting a warm glow on the buildings around her. Mira's mind wandered as she listened to the distant hum of the city. She was excited for the day. Aaron, her husband, had promised to take her to a new park nearby where she could sit in the shade and enjoy the fresh air. Suddenly, a commotion came from the intersection ahead. A police car screeched to a halt and Officer Harlan stepped out. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and moved with a strict air that demanded attention. Harlan's eyes scanned the crowd quickly. He was on edge. Recent events had made him suspicious of small disturbances, and he had been warned to act swiftly against potential trouble. Mira tried to move past the officer, but Harlan stepped in front of her wheelchair. "Hold there," he said sharply. "You need to stay out of the road." Mira stopped, unsure if he was speaking to her or someone else. "I'm on the sidewalk, sir. I'm fine," she said softly, her voice polite but firm. Harlan frowned. His instincts told him something was wrong. "Move out of the way," he commanded. "You're blocking traffic." "I'm not blocking anything," Mira replied, gesturing gently to the street. "Please, I'm just trying to get across safely." The officer's tension grew. He misread her calm demeanor as defiance. In his mind, the situation was escalating. He reached out and grabbed the side of Mira's wheelchair, trying to push it back. The sudden movement startled Mira. She gasped and tried to steady herself, but the chair tipped slightly, sending a jolt through her body. A crowd began to form. People whispered, some recording the event on their phones. Mira's face went pale, and she gripped the arms of her chair tightly. "Please, stop. I'm pregnant," she cried. Her voice was steady but desperate, carrying over the sounds of traffic and the city. The tension in the air grew thick. Harlan hesitated for a moment, seeing her condition, but his pride and rigid sense of authority made him continue. He did not know the full story. He only saw what he believed to be a person resisting his instructions. From across the street, Aaron watched silently. His heart pounded. He had seen enough in his career to recognize danger instantly. He had been undercover in Solaris for months, investigating a large network of organized crime. Today he was in plain clothes, unarmed, blending into the crowd. Seeing Mira in trouble made every instinct in him scream. Aaron did not act recklessly. He knew that revealing himself could complicate things, not just for Mira, but for his mission. He moved closer, carefully scanning the situation. Harlan was unaware of who Aaron really was. To the officer, he was just another bystander. But Aaron's training gave him a clear picture of what needed to happen. "Officer, please. She's pregnant," a voice from the crowd shouted. Some people stepped forward, trying to intervene. But Harlan waved them back. His voice boomed, demanding control. The crowd paused, unsure of what to do. Mira's eyes welled with tears. Her face showed fear, but also strength. She had faced challenges before, and she would not let herself be hurt without resistance. She tried to explain, "I need to cross safely. Please, just let me move." Harlan's hand tightened on the wheelchair. He pushed lightly, thinking he was helping, but the chair wobbled dangerously. Mira cried out and gripped the wheels for support. The sudden movement drew gasps from the crowd. Aaron stepped forward, keeping his voice calm but firm. "Sir, please step back. You are hurting her." His words carried authority, even though he had no uniform to show it. Harlan turned, seeing a man stepping confidently toward him. The officer's eyes narrowed, reading the man as a threat. Aaron did not stop. He kept a careful distance, speaking louder now. "She is pregnant. You need to let her go immediately." Harlan's instincts screamed at him. He saw a man approaching, unarmed but firm. He felt challenged. "Step back yourself," Harlan barked. "This is a police matter." "Stay out of it." Aaron paused, thinking quickly. His mind raced through options. He could overpower Harlan physically, but that risked exposing his identity. Instead, he focused on safety and control. "I am stepping back. I only want her safe. Please, let her continue." The officer hesitated. The crowd watched in tense silence. Mira's breathing was shallow. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, trying to calm herself. The baby inside her seemed to sense the fear kicking strongly. Harlan glanced around. He could feel the judgment of the people watching. Some held up phones recording every movement, his face flushed with frustration. He was trained to take charge, but he felt exposed in front of witnesses. Aaron, seeing the moment, carefully guided Mira's wheelchair backward, away from Harlan's reach. "Stay calm, Mira. You are safe now," he said, his voice steady. Mira's hands clutched his as he helped her adjust the chair. Harlan watched, confused and frustrated. He did not understand why this man could influence the situation without a badge. He felt his authority slipping. Mira took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. Her voice was soft but firm. "I'm okay now. Thank you for helping me." She looked at the officer with calm eyes. "I did nothing wrong. I just want to be safe." The officer's jaw tightened. He looked at the crowd, then at Aaron, and realized that the situation was no longer under his control. His instincts told him to escalate, but his judgment wavered. Aaron made a decision. He gently pushed Mira toward the sidewalk away from the intersection. "Stay here. Wait for me," he instructed. Then he turned to face Harlan. "Your actions could have caused serious harm. I suggest you reconsider how you handle situations like this in the future." Harlan stared at him, a mix of anger and confusion. He did not recognize the man's authority, yet he could feel the weight of the words. The crowd murmured, some clapping softly for the man who had defended Mira. As Mira rested, catching her breath, Aaron took out his phone quietly. He called emergency services, reporting the incident in a calm, factual voice. He described the assault, the danger to a pregnant woman, and the need for immediate medical attention. Harlan watched, feeling cornered. He did not know the identity of Aaron. All he saw was a man who had disrupted his authority, defended a vulnerable person, and gathered the attention of the public. Harlan's frustration grew, but he could do nothing. Mira, still in the wheelchair, reached for Aaron's hand. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice was full of relief and gratitude. "I was so scared," Aaron smiled briefly. "You're safe now. That is what matters." He looked at her carefully, making sure she was steady. The city's hum returned around them. The cars, the people, and the neon lights continued, but for Mira and Aaron, the moment felt suspended in time. The officer eventually stepped back, muttering under his breath. He would later have to answer questions about his behavior. For now, the immediate danger had passed. The crowd began to disperse, some still whispering about what they had just witnessed. Aaron helped Mira to a nearby park, a safe distance from the chaos. He guided the wheelchair along the smooth path, making sure she was comfortable. Mira's breathing slowed and a small smile appeared on her face. "I can't believe that happened," she said quietly. Aaron nodded. "Some people act without thinking. We just need to stay calm and protect ourselves." He glanced around, scanning the surroundings with the trained eyes of an agent. Even in peace, he remained alert. Mira looked up at him, worry still in her eyes. "Are we safe?" Aaron reassured her. "Yes, for now we are safe. We will make sure nothing like that happens again." He knew this incident was not just about one officer's mistake. It could be part of a larger pattern. And as an FBI agent, he understood that vigilance was always necessary. The sun continued to rise higher in the sky, casting long shadows on the pavement. For Mira, it was a reminder that even in a city filled with strangers, there could be people willing to step in and help. For Aaron, it was another day where human courage, calm thinking, and quick decisions could make a difference. The incident had ended, but the story was far from over. Questions lingered in the air. Who was this officer? Why had he acted so aggressively? And what connections, if any, would this moment reveal in the days to come? As Aaron pushed Mira slowly toward the park benches, he made a silent promise. He would protect his family, uncover the truth, and ensure that justice was served. The city of Solaris was full of surprises, but he had the advantage that humans often held over anyone else: ingenuity, courage, and determination. The morning sun warmed the park as Mira rested on a bench. The wheelchair was parked safely beside her, and the gentle breeze brushed her face. She still felt shaken from the incident with Officer Harlan, but she drew comfort from Aaron's calm presence. He sat next to her, quietly observing the surroundings. His sharp eyes missed nothing: the people walking by, the distant traffic, and the unusual movements that most would ignore. "I cannot believe what happened," Mira said softly, her hands resting on her lap. I have never felt so scared in my life, and in public with so many people watching, it still felt dangerous. Aaron nodded. It was a dangerous situation, but you stayed calm and that helped. Your reaction matters more than you think. He gave her a reassuring smile. Some people act quickly without thinking, but humans also have the advantage of reasoning and understanding consequences. We use that advantage today. Mira looked at him, curiosity mixed with concern. What do you mean, Aaron? He hesitated for a moment, thinking carefully. I mean that even when someone seems strong or in authority like Harlan, humans can act with intelligence, patience, and strategy. We don't always rely on force. Sometimes our thinking and careful action is stronger than physical power. Mira nodded slowly. I see, so we won today by being careful? Aaron smiled. Exactly. But there is more to consider. This officer may not have acted randomly. I have a feeling that his actions are part of a larger problem, something we need to understand fully. Mira's brow furrowed. What do you mean? Could he do this again? Aaron looked at her seriously. It is possible. People in authority sometimes misuse power, and if it happens once, it might happen again unless someone checks it. That is why we need information. We need to understand who Harlan is, what he does, and whether he has caused harm before. Mira listened carefully, realizing that Aaron was not only protecting her physically, but also preparing to prevent further danger. And you will handle it? She asked. Aaron nodded. I will, but I need your help too. You know people in this area better than I do. You can notice things I might miss. Together we can gather evidence quietly without drawing attention. Mira took a deep breath. All right, I will help. But I am nervous about this. What if Harlan notices us? Aaron reassured her. We will be careful. Humans have the ability to think ahead, to plan, and to avoid danger when necessary. That is our advantage. And you have courage, Mira. Courage and intelligence are stronger than recklessness. With a plan forming, they began their quiet investigation. Aaron first contacted a few trusted FBI colleagues. He could not reveal too much, but he asked discreet questions about Harlan's behavior. He learned that the officer had a reputation for aggression and impatience. There were minor complaints on record, but nothing serious enough to remove him from duty. Aaron also learned that some colleagues in the city police department were aware of Harlan's temper. One or two had tried to report his behavior in the past, but internal politics often prevented action. This information made Aaron more determined. He realized that Harlan's actions were not an isolated mistake. They reflected a pattern. Meanwhile, Mira became an observer in her own community. She spoke gently to neighbors, asking if they had witnessed anything unusual involving the officer. Many were hesitant at first, fearing retaliation or being involved in a police investigation. But Mira's calm and friendly approach made them trust her. I saw him push an old man once, a neighbor whispered. He said the man was resisting, but it did not look that way. I was too scared to speak up before. Mira nodded. Thank you for telling me. Your words matter. It helps us understand the truth. Another neighbor mentioned seeing Harlan argue with street vendors over minor rules. Each story painted a picture of an officer who valued control over fairness, who acted impulsively, and sometimes endangered those around him. Aaron and Mira collected each account carefully, making notes without alarming anyone. They also reviewed publicly available security footage from nearby businesses. They could see Harlan's interactions, noting times when his temper caused harm or unnecessary fear. This is useful, Aaron said as they sat in a quiet cafe later that day. We have witness statements, video evidence, and historical records. We are building a clear picture of his behavior. Mira sipped her tea, feeling a mixture of relief and anxiety. Do you think people will believe us? It seems like such a big story, Aaron smiled. Humans tend to believe what they can see and verify. With evidence and careful presentation, we can show the truth without relying on accusations alone. That is why what we are doing is powerful. We are using intelligence, reasoning, and proof, the best tools humans have. As the day progressed, Aaron considered the risks. Harlan could notice unusual interest in his activities, and if he became suspicious, he might act defensively. Aaron decided to continue gathering information discreetly, using technology and human observation without confrontation. By evening, Mira and Aaron returned home. Mira felt tired but determined. She understood that the first incident was only the beginning. Aaron reassured her that they were safe at home, but she could see the focus in his eyes. He was planning the next steps carefully. The next morning, Aaron revisited the scene of the incident. He observed from a distance, noticing the officer talking to other police staff and seemingly boasting about his authority. Aaron took mental notes, considering how Harlan's personality could influence future interactions. He also reached out to a few more community members, discreetly gathering accounts of minor incidents that showed a pattern of aggression. He discovered that Harlan had a habit of misjudging ordinary citizens as threats, often escalating situations unnecessarily. Mira, meanwhile, checked her own emails and social networks. She found small messages of support from neighbors and friends who had witnessed her incident. Their encouragement strengthened her resolve. She realized that humans, when acting together, could influence outcomes positively. Aaron used the collected evidence to prepare a report, carefully documenting each witness, time, and incident. He avoided any exaggeration, relying on clear facts. Humans excel at analyzing patterns, and Aaron's report highlighted repeated behavior, creating a strong foundation for future action. As days passed, the couple grew more confident. They knew that knowledge and preparation were stronger than confrontation alone. Mira began practicing calm observation techniques, learning from Aaron's expertise. She watched people and surroundings carefully, noting unusual movements or behavior. One afternoon, while reviewing footage again, Aaron noticed something strange. Harlan had a brief meeting with a group of men who seemed suspicious. Their conversation appeared tense, and one of the men handed Harlan an envelope. Aaron paused the video, zooming in on the details. He could not see the contents, but it suggested that Harlan's actions might involve more than personal aggression. Mira watched closely. "Do you think he is working with others?" she asked. Aaron nodded slowly. "It is possible. Sometimes human behavior patterns show connections that are not immediately obvious. We need to observe more before we act." They decided to focus on strategy. Aaron emphasized patience. "We cannot rush. Humans are smart because we can wait, observe, and plan. We have to gather full information before making any moves." Mira agreed. "I understand. We will watch, learn, and then decide what to do." The following week, Aaron met a former colleague in Solaris who had insight into internal police matters. Together, they discussed ways to document and report Harlan's misconduct without alerting him. Aaron learned more about the internal complaints that had been dismissed and realized that this officer's behavior was protected by bureaucracy, making careful human strategy essential. By now, Mira was more involved. She visited local shops, talked to street vendors, and collected small stories about Harlan's actions. Each account was carefully recorded. She used her empathy to make people feel comfortable, showing that humans have an advantage in building trust and understanding. Aaron reviewed all the information at home, cross-referencing witness statements with video evidence and historical complaints. The pattern was clear. Harlan had a repeated tendency to misuse his authority, and several people had suffered because of it. "We have what we need," Aaron said one evening. "Not just for legal action, but to show the truth. The next step will require careful planning, but we are ready." Mira nodded. "It feels good to know that we are doing something. I was afraid after the first incident, but now I see that humans can make a difference." "We are not powerless," Aaron smiled. "Exactly. That is the essence of human strength. Intelligence, courage, patience, and morality. These are what allow humans to overcome challenges, even against people in power who misuse it." As night fell over Solaris, the city lights twinkled like stars. Mira and Aaron prepared for the next day, knowing that their work had just begun. The investigation had revealed patterns, risks, and possibilities. But with strategy, observation, and careful action, they were ready to protect themselves and others. The incident at the intersection had been the spark, but the fire of determination had begun to grow. And in that fire, human courage and ingenuity burned brightly. The city of Solaris hummed with its usual rhythm. Streetlights flickered on as evening approached, and the distant hum of cars blended with the chatter of people leaving work. Mira sat in her wheelchair by the window, watching the city glow. She felt a mixture of exhaustion and determination. The events of the past week had changed her. She no longer felt like a passive bystander. She was learning how human intelligence and courage could turn fear into action. Aaron was at the table, reviewing notes and footage from the past days. He had created a detailed file on Officer Harlan, collecting witness statements, video clips, and historical complaints. Each piece formed a pattern that revealed Harlan's repeated misuse of authority. But Aaron knew this was only the beginning. Patterns alone would not stop Harlan. Human planning and careful strategy were necessary to ensure justice. "Mira, look at this," Aaron said, pointing at a screen. "Notice how he reacts when challenged. He becomes defensive but also tries to control the narrative. That is his weakness. He relies on fear and authority, not reason." Mira leaned closer. "So we need to use reasoning and evidence, not anger?" Aaron nodded. "Exactly. Humans have an advantage when we act with intelligence and planning. We do not need to confront blindly. We can observe, document, and use our knowledge to act effectively." They decided to expand their investigation. Aaron wanted to see if Harlan had connections that went beyond his aggressive behavior. Mira offered to help by speaking to neighbors, shopkeepers, and anyone who might have encountered Harlan in his routine. She moved carefully through her neighborhood, asking questions politely and listening closely. Many people were hesitant to speak at first. Some had witnessed Harlan acting harshly, but were afraid of retaliation. Mira's calm presence and clear purpose encouraged them to share. One street vendor said, "He pushed me once for no reason. I didn't want to report it because I thought it would make things worse." Mira nodded. "Thank you for telling me. What you say helps to show the truth. It can prevent others from being hurt." Another neighbor added, "He once yelled at a boy who dropped a ball on the street. The boy was scared for days. I thought it was just him being strict, but it seems he has a pattern." Aaron compiled these accounts, cross-referencing them with video evidence and official records. The growing file revealed Harlan's consistent behavior: impulsive, aggressive, and often endangering ordinary citizens. The pattern also showed that he sometimes acted with others, suggesting a network of influence. Mira returned home after a day of interviews, her mind full of details. "Aaron, do you think Harlan knows we are watching?" she asked cautiously. Aaron shook his head. "Not yet. We are careful. Humans are good at observing without being seen. That is why we can gather information safely. As long as we plan and act wisely, we remain in control." The next day, Aaron focused on the video footage. He noticed Harlan meeting with two men in a quiet alley. Their conversation was brief, and one of the men handed Harlan a small envelope. Aaron paused the video, zooming in. Though he could not see the contents, the exchange suggested that Harlan's actions were not random. Humans could detect patterns even in small details, and Aaron knew this might be a clue to something larger. "We need to understand this connection," Aaron said to Mira. "Humans can notice subtle signs that others might miss. Observation is a powerful tool. If Harlan is working with someone, we need to know why." Mira nodded. "I will ask around and see if anyone noticed unusual meetings or exchanges. People see more than we expect, even if they think it is ordinary." Over the next few days, Mira's observations proved valuable. She discovered that some local employees had seen Harlan receiving envelopes from unknown individuals. One shopkeeper said, "He comes here sometimes looking around like he doesn't want anyone to notice. Then a man gives him something in an envelope and he leaves quickly." Aaron connected this information with witness accounts and video footage. A clearer picture emerged. Harlan was not just an aggressive officer. He was being influenced by others, possibly for personal gain or control. Human reasoning allowed Aaron to see these connections and predict possible actions. Meanwhile, Mira practiced staying calm under stress. She learned to observe without reacting immediately, to ask careful questions, and to document information precisely. Aaron guided her, explaining how humans could use patience and intelligence to influence outcomes safely. One afternoon, Aaron set up a small simulation. He recreated scenarios similar to the incident in the street, showing Mira how to respond effectively. He demonstrated how to stay calm, communicate clearly, and protect oneself while gathering information. Mira absorbed every detail, understanding that courage alone was not enough. Strategy and intelligence were equally important. As they worked, Aaron realized that Harlan's overconfidence was a weakness. He assumed that his position made him untouchable. He underestimated ordinary humans. That was the advantage Aaron and Mira had. By observing carefully, documenting accurately, and acting strategically, they could outsmart him. Aaron decided to test the network theory. He followed Harlan discreetly one evening, keeping a safe distance. Harlan walked through dimly lit streets, meeting briefly with two men. Aaron noted their movements, timing, and interactions. This human observation allowed him to map the connections without confrontation. Back home, Aaron and Mira analyzed the data. "Notice how Harlan reacts to these meetings," Aaron said. "He is cautious with the men but aggressive with ordinary citizens. Humans can act differently in different situations. Recognizing this helps us plan our next steps." Mira studied the pattern. "So he is careful with people who might influence him but careless with those who cannot." Aaron nodded. "Yes, that is human behavior. People often underestimate those they see as weaker. That is our advantage. By using intelligence, strategy, and observation, we can turn that underestimation to our favor." Mira's confidence grew. She realized that even though she was in a wheelchair and pregnant, her ability to observe, communicate, and remain calm gave her power. Aaron reinforced this, showing that human ingenuity often outweighs physical strength or authority. One evening, they discovered a new piece of information. A neighbor had seen Harlan giving instructions to a delivery driver, telling him to move packages quickly without recording them. This confirmed Aaron's suspicion that Harlan's actions were influenced by others and potentially linked to a larger network. Aaron and Mira prepared their next steps carefully. They planned to continue documenting incidents while maintaining distance. They also developed a strategy for presenting the information in a way that could not be ignored. Humans were capable of creating solutions, reasoning through complex problems, and taking careful action. That was their strength. Throughout the week, they balanced caution with persistence. Mira continued to collect eyewitness accounts, and Aaron analyzed video footage. Together, they refined their understanding of Harlan's behavior and the potential network he was involved in. Each day, their advantage grew. They were not just reacting. They were planning, predicting, and using intelligence to influence the outcome. Aaron also considered contingency plans. If Harlan became suspicious, they would need to protect themselves. They mapped escape routes, safe locations, and ways to communicate quickly. Humans were able to think ahead, anticipate challenges, and adapt strategies as situations changed. This foresight was another advantage over someone who relied solely on authority and intimidation. By the end of the week, the file on Harlan was comprehensive. Witness statements, video evidence, historical complaints, and observations of his network painted a clear picture. Aaron reviewed the information with Mira. "We have enough to show a pattern of behavior, connections, and risks. The next step will require careful action, but we are ready." Mira nodded, feeling empowered. "It is amazing to see how humans can solve problems together. I feel stronger knowing that observation, intelligence, and careful planning can make a difference." Aaron smiled. "Exactly. That is the human advantage. Courage, intelligence, patience, and morality. That is what allows humans to overcome challenges, even against people in power who misuse it." The city of Solaris continued to shine outside their window, full of people unaware of the quiet battle happening in the shadows. Aaron and Mira prepared for the next phase. They would need to connect all the pieces, confront the situation carefully, and ensure that justice was served. Humans had the ability to plan, reason, and act together, and they would use that ability fully. As the night deepened, Mira rested, feeling a new sense of purpose. She knew that fear could be transformed into action when combined with intelligence. Aaron reviewed their plan one last time, confident that they had the human advantage firmly on their side. The work was not over, but they were ready. In Solaris, ordinary humans were quietly preparing to confront extraordinary challenges. And in that preparation, their courage, intelligence, and strategy would prove stronger than aggression and fear. The streets of Solaris were quieter in the early morning hours, bathed in a pale orange light as the sun rose over the horizon. Mira sat in her wheelchair near their apartment, sipping tea. She felt a mixture of nervousness and determination. The past week had been exhausting, but she knew that their careful investigation was beginning to reveal the truth. Aaron entered the room holding a folder filled with the compiled evidence. He moved with calm confidence, each step deliberate. "Today we take the next step," he said softly. "We will confront Harlan's pattern and make sure he cannot continue to endanger anyone. But we will do it carefully. Humans have an advantage when we plan and act with intelligence." Mira nodded, feeling a sense of purpose. "I am ready. I want to help," Aaron smiled. "You have already helped more than you realize. Observation, careful listening, and courage are powerful tools. Today we combine all of them." They planned the approach with precision. Aaron knew that Harlan's arrogance could be used against him. The officer believed that his position made him untouchable. That overconfidence was a weakness. By using intelligence, strategy, and careful planning, Aaron and Mira could turn the situation in their favor. Aaron decided to arrange a meeting in a controlled setting, away from the public eye. He contacted a trusted colleague at the FBI, who agreed to observe from a distance and provide support if needed. The goal was not confrontation through force but through evidence and reasoning. Humans could outsmart aggression with knowledge and careful action. Mira and Aaron arrived at a quiet warehouse that Harlan frequently visited, based on previous observations. The building was dimly lit, with large windows reflecting the morning sun. Aaron positioned himself near the entrance, making sure Mira was safe in the wheelchair. She stayed close, observing the surroundings carefully. From a distance, they could see Harlan speaking with the two men from previous encounters. The envelope exchanged earlier lay on a small table, evidence of his connection with them. Harlan appeared confident, unaware that anyone was observing him. Aaron whispered to Mira, "Notice his behavior. He is cautious with these men but careless in other ways. That is the advantage humans have. Observation and reasoning allow us to plan without risking confrontation." Mira nodded, studying each movement. Her heart raced, but she kept calm, following Aaron's guidance. "I see it. He talks loudly, acts in charge, but his hands fidget when he thinks no one is looking." Aaron smiled. "Exactly. Small details matter. Humans notice them and use them to understand patterns. That understanding will guide our next move." They continued observing until Harlan stepped outside briefly, leaving the envelope behind. Aaron seized the opportunity. He moved closer, keeping Mira safe. They approached the building slowly, making sure to remain unnoticed. Aaron retrieved the envelope and examined it without opening it immediately. Its contents might provide further proof of Harlan's connections and intentions. Suddenly, Harlan returned. He spotted Aaron and Mira at the edge of the building. His eyes narrowed and he instinctively reached for his radio. Aaron remained calm. He did not panic or run. Humans could influence situations through presence and strategy. By remaining composed, he forced Harlan to pause and assess the situation. "Officer Harlan," Aaron called out, his voice firm but controlled. "We need to speak with you about your actions." Harlan's brow furrowed. He recognized the authority in Aaron's voice, though he did not know his identity. "Who are you?" he demanded. "Step back before this becomes a problem." Aaron gestured toward Mira. "I am here because of the harm caused to her. You misjudged a situation and endangered someone vulnerable. We have evidence of repeated behavior, patterns of aggression, and connections that need to be explained." Harlan's face reddened with anger. "You cannot threaten me. I am a police officer. I have authority." Aaron remained calm. Authority does not excuse harm. Humans can act with intelligence and fairness. That is our advantage. You underestimated us, and now you will see that careful planning and truth are stronger than arrogance and aggression. Mira, observing closely, spoke up. "I am the one you pushed, officer. I am pregnant and in a wheelchair. You endangered me, and we have witnesses, videos, and records. Your behavior will be exposed." Harlan's eyes widened and he took a step back. He had not expected resistance, let alone evidence. His confidence faltered as Aaron calmly presented the findings, showing the pattern of repeated misconduct. Harlan realized that his actions were documented, undeniable, and could not be ignored. Aaron continued, "We have all the information we need. You acted aggressively multiple times, endangered citizens, and allowed yourself to be influenced by others. This is not just about one incident. It is about a pattern. Humans notice patterns, analyze them, and act wisely. That is the human advantage." Harlan looked around, noticing Mira's calm composure and Aaron's firm stance. The officer realized that force and intimidation were no longer effective. He had underestimated human intelligence, courage, and careful planning. Aaron handed Harlan the envelope. "This belongs to you. It shows your connection with others who influence your actions. We have all the evidence we need to ensure accountability. It is not fear or force that stops wrongdoing, but truth and careful reasoning." Harlan stared at the envelope, then at Aaron and Mira. His face showed confusion and a flicker of fear. You are not afraid?" he asked. Aaron shook his head. "Humans act with strategy and observation. We do not need to be afraid to do what is right. You misused authority and now you face the consequences. But there is no need for confrontation. Humans can resolve conflicts through evidence, logic, and planning. Mira added. We wanted to prevent harm. You could have hurt me seriously, but we used calm thinking and observation. You were stopped by planning, not force. Harlan's posture slumped slightly. He realized that his arrogance had been his weakness. He had assumed that power alone would protect him, but human ingenuity had turned the situation. Aaron's careful strategy, Mira's observations, and the collected evidence had outsmarted his aggression. Aaron continued, You have a choice. Cooperate with authorities, acknowledge your actions, and allow justice to follow its course, or we will present all evidence to the proper agencies. Humans act with fairness, but we do not ignore wrongdoing. Harlan hesitated. The envelope in his hand symbolized the connections he had tried to hide, the misjudgments he had made, and the pattern of his behavior. He could feel the weight of accountability pressing on him. For the first time, he realized that authority was not absolute. Human intelligence, observation, and planning could counter even his position. After a long pause, Harlan slowly nodded. I understand. I will cooperate. Aaron and Mira kept their calm composure. Good, that is the right choice. Humans act wisely when they accept accountability and make decisions based on evidence and fairness. The situation de-escalated. Harlan handed over his radio and other materials for investigation. The men who had been involved in previous exchanges were located by authorities and questioned. Aaron made sure all evidence was documented, showing patterns of behavior and connections clearly. Mira watched, feeling a sense of relief and accomplishment. We did it, she whispered. We prevented more harm, Aaron nodded. Yes, humans are strong because we can act with intelligence, strategy, and courage. Even against someone who misuses power, careful planning and reasoning make the difference. The authorities took Harlan into custody for questioning. The investigation was thorough, ensuring that every connection, every action, and every detail was examined. Aaron and Mira had provided the foundation for accountability, without relying on confrontation or fear. Humans had solved the problem through observation, intelligence, and moral clarity. As they left the warehouse, Mira felt a sense of empowerment. I never thought I could make a difference, but I see now that humans have an advantage when we act carefully and think ahead. Aaron smiled. That is the truth. Courage alone is not enough. Intelligence, planning, and observation amplify our strength. Humans can overcome challenges even in difficult circumstances. The city of Solaris continued its daily rhythm outside. People walked the streets unaware of the careful confrontation that had just taken place. But for Aaron and Mira, the lesson was clear. Human ingenuity, strategy, and moral courage could outmatch aggression, arrogance, and misuse of power. As they returned home, Aaron looked at Mira with pride. You saw how humans can solve problems not by force but by intelligence and planning. That is what gives us an edge. Mira nodded, feeling a newfound confidence. I understand now. Even ordinary people can change outcomes when we use reasoning, observation, and courage. Aaron guided her wheelchair along the familiar streets. The city lights reflected off the pavement, showing a world full of possibilities. For Mira and Aaron, the confrontation with Harlan was not just an end, but a proof of human strength, the ability to observe, plan, and act wisely. By nightfall, the evidence was in the hands of proper authorities. Harlan faced investigation, and his network of influence was exposed. The outcome had been achieved not through reckless action, but through careful strategy, courage, and intelligence. Mira rested at home, feeling safe and strong. Aaron reviewed the events of the day, analyzing every detail to ensure nothing was overlooked. The morning sun rose over Solaris, casting golden light across the city. The streets were busy with people starting their day, and the city seemed to hum with its usual energy. But for Mira and Aaron, the day carried a sense of calm triumph. The confrontation with Officer Harlan had ended, and now the process of justice would begin. Mira sat by the window in her apartment, her hands resting on her belly. She felt a mix of relief and anticipation. The baby inside her moved gently, and she smiled, feeling hope for the future. That feels like a new beginning, she whispered. Aaron stood nearby, reviewing notes from the investigation. He had worked closely with the authorities to ensure every detail of Harlan's misconduct was documented. It is more than a beginning, he said softly. It is proof that humans acting with intelligence, courage, and strategy can protect themselves and others. We do not need to rely on fear or force. Planning and observation work better. Mira nodded, understanding the deeper meaning. I used to think that being in a wheelchair made me helpless. But now I see that humans have other strengths. Knowledge, courage, and patience can make a difference. Aaron smiled. Exactly. We found the advantage humans have. Even against someone in power, we can influence outcomes when we act wisely. The authorities began their formal investigation. Harlan was required to answer questions about his actions, the incidents recorded, and the connections revealed in the envelope Aaron had retrieved. The evidence was clear, and his pattern of misconduct could no longer be ignored. Witnesses came forward willingly, encouraged by Mira's calm and friendly approach. The video footage, emails, and records compiled by Aaron provided a strong foundation for accountability. Harlan's arrogance began to fade as the investigation progressed. He realized that his position alone could not protect him. Humans had the ability to notice patterns, gather proof, and plan actions carefully. This realization left him cautious and reflective, a stark contrast to the confident officer who had misjudged Mira in the past. Meanwhile, Mira continued to interact with neighbors and community members. Her role in the investigation strengthened her confidence. People began to see the value of observation, careful communication, and human courage. Small actions such as documenting incidents or sharing information were helping to build a safer community. Aaron watched Mira with pride. You have shown that humans can act together, using intelligence and empathy to protect others. This is the essence of human strength. As days passed, the investigation unfolded systematically. Authorities examined the envelope's contents and discovered connections that Harlan had tried to hide. They found communications that demonstrated undue influence and attempts to misuse authority. The evidence confirmed Aaron's analysis. Harlan's aggressive behavior was part of a larger network that needed attention. Aaron and Mira met regularly to review developments. Each meeting reinforced a central truth. Humans could observe, reason, and act to create change. The knowledge they had gathered, combined with strategic planning, had brought them to this moment. One afternoon, Aaron received a call from a senior official overseeing the investigation. Mr. Aaron, your documentation and evidence have been invaluable. We can now proceed to take formal action against Officer Harlan and others involved. The case is strong. Aaron nodded, feeling satisfaction. Thank you. This is what happens. When humans act carefully, observe patterns, and work with intelligence, justice will be served without unnecessary conflict. Mira smiled. It feels good to know that being careful and observant can make such a difference. I never thought that could happen for me personally. Aaron took her hand gently. It happens for everyone when humans use reasoning, courage, and careful planning. That is the human advantage. The formal process continued. Harlan was suspended pending further investigation. His network of influence was examined, and others involved were held accountable. The city's citizens, who had witnessed or experienced his actions, found comfort in knowing that the system could respond when humans acted intelligently and strategically. Mira and Aaron also prepared for the arrival of their child. The experience had strengthened their partnership and highlighted the importance of courage, careful planning, and human ingenuity. Mira often reflected on how observation, patience, and reason had allowed them to face danger safely. On a bright afternoon, the baby was born safely at the hospital. Mira held the child in her arms, feeling a wave of joy and accomplishment. Aaron watched, feeling proud and grateful. The child represented hope, new beginnings, and the continuation of human courage and intelligence. Back in Solaris, the story of Harlan's misconduct and the role of ordinary humans in uncovering the truth spread quietly through the community. People admired how Mira and Aaron had acted thoughtfully, using evidence and reasoning rather than panic or aggression. It reminded everyone that humans had the power to protect themselves and others through planning and moral courage. Mira looked out the hospital window, thinking about the future. This city is full of people who think they are powerless, she said. But we learned that careful observation and planning can change outcomes. Humans are stronger than they realize. Aaron nodded. Yes, strength is not only in physical power or authority, it is in intelligence, strategy, courage, and moral clarity. That is why humans can face challenges, protect themselves, and ensure fairness even when circumstances are difficult. They returned home together, with the new baby sleeping peacefully. The city outside continued its rhythm, but for Mira and Aaron, life had changed. They had seen firsthand the value of human ingenuity, observation, and courage. They knew that ordinary people could create extraordinary outcomes when acting with intelligence and patience. The investigation into Harlan continued, and he faced consequences for his actions. His suspension became permanent, and the network of influence he had relied on was dismantled. Citizens felt safer knowing that careful observation, truth, and planning could hold even those in authority accountable. Mira and Aaron became quiet examples of human resilience. They showed that even in challenging circumstances, humans could use their strengths, observation, reasoning, strategy, and courage, to protect themselves and others. Their story inspired neighbors and friends to act with awareness and care in their own lives. One evening, Aaron and Mira sat together on their balcony, watching the city lights shimmer on the buildings. The air was calm, and the sounds of Solaris felt peaceful. Mira held the baby gently, and Aaron reflected on the journey they had completed. "We faced danger, observation, and uncertainty," he said. "But through intelligence, planning, and moral courage, we ensured safety and justice. That is the essence of human strength." Mira smiled, feeling proud. "We learned that humans are capable of more than we think. Even when we feel vulnerable, we can act wisely and create change." Aaron looked out over the city. "Humans have an advantage when we combine courage with reasoning and careful action. That advantage has protected us, solved problems, and ensured fairness, and it will continue to guide us in the future." The sun set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. Mira watched the horizon, feeling hope. Solaris was a city full of people, challenges, and opportunities, but she knew that humans could face obstacles with intelligence, courage, and careful planning. That knowledge gave her confidence for the life ahead. The city continued its rhythm, unaware of the quiet victories achieved by ordinary humans who acted with strategy and heart. Mira and Aaron, strengthened by experience, continued their life, with purpose, ready to face challenges while relying on the human advantages of observation, reasoning, and courage. And in the heart of Solaris, a family had shown that even in moments of danger, humans could protect, solve, and prevail. Not through fear or force, but through intelligence, strategy, and moral courage. The story of the confrontation, investigation, and resolution became a quiet legend among those who witnessed it. It reminded everyone that ordinary humans, when acting wisely and bravely, could create extraordinary change. Mira looked at her baby, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. Aaron sat beside her, holding her hand. They had faced danger, uncovered truth, and ensured justice. Their actions had proven that humans with intelligence and courage could overcome even those who misused authority. And so, life continued in Solaris, full of possibilities, guided by human ingenuity, observation, and moral clarity. The city was brighter, safer, and more hopeful because humans had chosen to act wisely. Mira whispered softly to her child, "You are part of a world where courage and intelligence matter. Remember that humans have the power to protect and create change." Aaron added, "Yes, and we will continue to act with strategy, observation, and fairness. That is the true strength of humans." The night fell peacefully over the city, and the family rested, knowing that intelligence, courage, and careful action had ensured safety, justice, and hope. Humans had faced challenges, prevailed, and proven their strength.